All of us see God, rightfully so, as the God that answers big prayers and does big things, like maybe a divine healing or setting up a conference and giving us the wherewithal to put it together when there's thousands of people. The list goes on and on of people who need God for big answered prayers. But for many of us that have been Christians for years, what really is a blessing is when God does little things. I love the God of little things. And case in point is, the other day I was here, I had just set up this desk behind me. It's a new little office unit for our home office. And I went from a laptop, I thought I should have a desk and kind of go back to it like I used to have. When I traveled, I had a desk when I'd come home to, but I didn't get a desk, and I gave up the desk when we moved from our larger home into this smaller home. So the thing that I said in passing to my wife is I'd like to get a monitor for my laptop so I don't have to look at the little screen, I could look at the big screen. And she said, well, we'll have to save for that. And I thought, rightfully so. I priced them. They're between $250 and up to $400. And I thought to myself, I'll wait on the Lord for provision. Well, without saying anything, that same day or two, a man came over from our church. His name is Tom, and he brought some of his children because we offered him a piece of our furniture that we no longer use within our home. And so he was collecting it all, picking it up, and taking it out to the trailer. And he came into the office area, and he said, without me saying a single thing, he said, I have 2 monitors. Would you like to have one? It floored me. I couldn't believe, never having said anything except to my wife, he offered the very thing that I had prayed and asked God to provide. You see, it was just a little thing, but nobody had heard that prayer except my wife and I, and it was a passing thought, kind of like you think the prayer out, and you don't bombard God of heaven for a monitor. You just say it in passing and pray that He will provide. It reminds me of a story. When I was early in our ministry back in Port Orford, Oregon, in about 1978, 79-ish, my wife said on the Christmas season, honey, I'd like to have a roast beef for Christmas. Well, we were so poor. I never knew where our next meal was to come from. But to ask for a roast beef was, you might as well ask for a Cadillac when you have no money, and roast beefs are expensive. I didn't even have enough money for turkey. Well, that same season, on Christmas Eve, a knock at the door, and there was a man named Leo Phillips. Leo Phillips worked at the pharmacy. He was a pharmacist for the local town of Port Orford. And he had in his arms a bag, and he said, Merry Christmas, Richard and Marilyn. I bought you all a turkey. We were so thankful. Thank you, Leo. Thank you so much. We didn't know what we were going to have for Christmas this year, and this turkey is going to be just perfect. And off he went after we prayed and gave praise to God. So, on Christmas Day, there was another knock at the door, and this time it was Steve Phillips. Steve was Leo Phillips's son. Unbeknownst to Steve that his dad brought the turkey, he had a bag in his arms. And he said, Richard and Marilyn, I was in the market with Carol, and we looked into the deli, and Carol had this inspiration to buy you a Christmas meal. So I quickly thought to myself, wow, that's kind of exciting, because we could have Leo's turkey for Christmas, and whatever Steve has in that bag, we can have for New Year. And he said, so we looked at the turkey, but we thought, no, we'll get ham. I go, that's even better, because that'll break up the monotony. We'll go from turkey to ham. And then he hung his head kind of in embarrassment, shame. He says, I don't know what possessed me. But at the last minute, Carol looked over and there was a roast beef. And he hung his head, he goes, nobody has roast beef at Christmas. So in this bag, we felt like we got you a 6-pound roast. Man, nobody knew about that. We had simply talked between ourselves, and I had in my heart hoped that I could provide the turkey for Marilyn, but God provided that roast beef. It was the little thing that God had done that was a big thing in our mind, in our lives. So that's the kind of God that we serve. He knows the little things, and He loves us, and He wants to provide those things for us if we would just trust Him and walk daily with Him. I leave you with this word to pause and ponder.